So welcome everybody. This is our webinar on strategic planning featuring Camelia Crisan, our wonderful facilitator. She's going to give us the basics and the tips and tricks of strategic planning. This webinar is part of the Occupy Library Innovators Hub project. I hope that you are going to get the best information and the most useful information to apply in your organizations, whether you are coming from a library or you are coming from an NGO or other type of civic society organization. So please enjoy. Camelia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Anca. I see a lot of people that I already know from Romanian libraries. Welcome, guys, and nice to see you back. And I also see a lot of new faces that I have not seen before. So what I would like to ask you is, prior to anything, just a quick round of the table, let's say, a quick round of the screen. So we know who is participating today. So just your name and where you're coming from, and if you're from a library or from an NGO. So that's just 3 pieces of information: name, country, and if you work for a library or an NGO. And obviously I'll start with myself because I want to set a good example. I'm Camelia, I'm from Bucharest, Romania, and I work for an NGO today as your consultant. My normal job is in the academia. And who would like to go next? Perhaps those of you who don't have the possibility to speak, just type your name, country, and where you work, where you're coming from professionally in the chat.
Hello, I'm Virgil. I'm from a public library from Romania, from the Neamț County.
Okay,
May the force be with you.
Thank you, Virgil. Welcome.
Hi, I am Yaroslava. I am from Ukraine, and I am from Ukrainian Library Association.
Hi, Yaroslava. It's so good to see you. Who wants to go next?
Hello, my name is Mariana. I'm from Moldova, from Municipal Public Library.
Hi, Mariana. Nice to see you back.
Nice to see you.
Who else is there?
Well, we have Ina. Ina, if you want, you can open your mic and just tell us hello. If not, we are happy that you are with us. We also have Julia from Buzău.
Yes, hi, Julia. We have Honey Grace. You're from where, Honey? I see that you wanted to speak, but then you could not. We have also Katerina, Siomka, maybe. I don't want to say stupid things. And we have Elena. Katerina in Khmelnytskyi Scientific Library in Ukraine. Ina, Anka, Annika. We have not heard anything from you. If it's possible, just write it down in the chat. And that's Claudia. So I see
Camelia, I think you have a little bit of problems with your internet connection.
From the library field. It's so good to see you. All right. Is everything okay? It seems my internet connection is unstable, but other than that, I hope we're all fine. So let's start. talking about strategic planning. First of all, a little bit about what will happen today, what I plan to do with you for the next 1 hour and a half. You're in my hands and I'm going to do strategic planning with you. So we went through who are the masters and padavans, and I have looked at the questionnaire that you have filled in. And I'm happy to say that a lot of people seem to think they know what strategic planning is, or they have the basics of the strategic planning, but some of the people want to know more. So we have a very diverse group today, and I'm trying to put all the parts, all the strings together to make it coherent and interesting for all of you. We will discuss a little bit about what is strategic planning, and most importantly, what is not strategic planning. We will talk a little bit about SWOT, but I'm sure all of you know about SWOT, but we will talk about some development in the SWOT analysis, and then how we use the SWOT analysis to put together objectives. Also, we will look at another strategic element, or another element of strategic planning, which is the stakeholder analysis, and how an idea can go from and how you can move in strategic planning from an idea to implementation. And then we will discuss a little study case, and if we have time we will do it as a group. Otherwise, that's something for you to reflect and think about when you go back to your respective institutions. Also, just wave hands or just write in the chat if you think that I'm talking too fast, and I'm going to try to keep my pace lower so everyone can follow me. Now, what is strategic planning? Don't be upset that you see so much text, because it's so much text, but there are just a few very how can I say, strong ideas, just a few basic ideas. The process of strategic planning obviously stems from organization, from companies, because they need to understand how they move forward, thinking about the environment where they are operating. But sooner or later, it has been adopted by both governmental organization and non-governmental organization, because nobody can stay in a bubble and think, well, whatever will come, it will come. So more and more organizations, more and more institutions start to plan ahead and think what they will do with the resources. They look around, and by looking around, they're looking at the environment where they are operating. They're looking at changes that are happening in the environment where they are operating. So basically, strategic planning is just you're setting your mind with the intent. So it's an aware intent. It's not. It is just happening. It's in aware. We all sit together and we plan it. So it's an intent process, an intent activity to accomplish something for your organization, and then working towards accomplishing those goals. It also obliges you as an organization to make fundamental choices. And these fundamental choices for you should be, well, you can't do everything, obviously, because you have limited resources in terms of space, in terms of people, in terms of money. So because you have limited resources, strategic planning is obliging you to sit down and think what you want to do. Very narrow or very specific. Whom you will serve. If you're a library, whom you will serve. If you're an NGO, who will be the main target group that you want to work with? What are the products that you can offer? What are the services that you can offer? What are the resources that you need? So these are things that you're putting in terms of deciding. It's just a decision. We want to do this. And then deciding how you combine all these resources that you have in order to reach the results that you want to have. Now, strategic planning is a little bit different from operational planning. We all have operational planning. We all meet. My organization is meeting at least once a year, and we're discussing what we want to do in the next year. But strategic planning is more than that. When we had as an organization the first discussion about on strategic planning, one of the things that we have decided was whom are we going to work with? It's very important. If we want to work as an organization with libraries, then we will focus on providing and empowering libraries. If we want to work as an organization with communities, but using libraries as a tool for community development, then it's obviously that the types of projects we are going to implement from now on are stemming from this strategic decision. And why is this useful? Because when you are an NGO or when you are a library, there are so many things coming towards you. And you need to have a reference point to say, I'm doing this I'm not doing. If you don't have the strategic planning document in front of you to guide you, sometimes you are in a position to take so much work or to take projects for which you're not actually ready, or to invest resources in something for which there is no market. There are no people who want to attend the services that you want to put in practice if you're a library and you're not thinking strategically. So it's not rocket science, but it's working in a little bit more organized way and thinking at the future. Now, when we are doing the strategic planning is not a thing that the director of an NGO or the director of a library is locking himself or herself in an office and they're doing strategic planning. It's not how it happens. Strategic planning is always a team effort. And because it's a team of effort, it's very important for you to understand who will be in that team. There are a lot of academic papers discussing about who must be absolutely necessary be in a strategic planning process. Some people should be included, some people should be left out of it. When you're a small organization, just bring everyone on board, but not only you. When you are a public library, for instance, and we have done this in Romania with a public county library from Târgu Jiu. When you're a public library, you can't do the strategic planning, just you and your staff. It's always important to bring along the people who can contribute in the development of your library. Bring people from the public administration, bring people from academia, bring people from the community, bring NGO people. So make sure that the people you're bringing in the strategic planning process are in there from the beginning. Why your staff must necessarily be there? Because it's happening, that process that we call the buy-in. People understand why they work for your organization, and it's increasing their motivation, and it's offering them a clear vision. They understand what they need to do, how they need to transform themselves to be part of your organization from that point forward. So it's a matter of bringing everyone along the process from inside, but also deciding at the same extent who should be the people from outside of your institution, of your organization, who should be part in the strategic planning process. When we have done this in our organization, we had, first of all, a facilitator who helped us in the process, and you will see soon enough why a facilitator of the process is needed, because you need to have someone who is objective to steer you towards your goal. But apart from that, we have taken a lot of input from people, because we were in a position as an organization to understand what we wanted to do in the future. We used to work with most of our projects were connected with youth and volunteering and small community projects. And suddenly, once we finished the BiblioNet program, as an organization, we had a lot of people with know-how in library work. So we had to sit and decide what we want to do from that point forward. And it's good because we had a lot of internal fight about what is our mission, vision, and goals, what we want to do. And I think that for the vision of the organization, we had at least 20 ways of framing the vision. And I remember when we did the same type of project with the National Library of Romania, when they had to think about their mission, I think we filled in I don't know, 10, 15 flip chart papers, just to understand, for allowing people to understand what should be their mission and what should be their vision. And it was good because through discussion and dialogue, they came to what they understood, how they understood their institution and what it's meant to be. So, cutting the long story short, strategic planning means a reference point which will allow you to understand what you want to do in the future. It's a reference point because it's guiding you to go to the left or to the right or to stay on course. It's good because it's also a reference point for the people who work in your organization, so they understand what they need to do in the future, how they need to prepare. It's allowing you to understand what resources you have, what resources you need, and also how you can combine them in order to reach where you want to be. So also keep in mind that it's not a thing that one director of an NGO or of a library is doing alone in an office. It's a process which involves a large consultation inside and outside of the organization. Now, if we're looking at methods for doing strategic planning, I think that you all have heard about SWOT. I don't think there is anyone who has never heard about SWOT before. Have you? Just nod if you, okay. So you all heard about SWOT. I'm not going to tell you anything extraordinary, probably. But what I'm going to tell you is that a lot of people know about SWOT, but they don't do it right. So even if you know about it, you're not all the time using it properly. And in the end, when I've been in a position of seeing a lot of SWOT analysis, they were just a mumbo jumbo of everything, when that is not how you do properly a SWOT analysis. So we're starting with the strengths. As you see, I put here, I put here internal, external, right? So strengths are always something that we say about our organization, but about its internal strengths, something that we have already, what we can depend on, what we can rely on, what shows success, right? So those are the strengths, but strengths are always something that describe the organization internally. Weaknesses is again something that is describing the organization internally. So I can say I'm just giving you an example about some organization. So the strength is that we have managed to double our budget in the last year, that we are serving more people, that we are having 8 permanent staff in the organization, that our, how can I say, that our skills are diverse, that we can cover a lot of areas where we can work. We have a good, people trust us, our staff is trusting us, is trusting the management. So the relationship between people is also a strength. We think as one and we act as one. So you can put both hard things, like we have 5 computers and we have a building and so on and so forth. But you can put also soft things, like the level of trust, the level of empowerment people feel, how happy people are with the management of the organization. All these should be included in the strengths part. Weaknesses, again, it's something that has to do with the interior of the organization. So a weakness can be, well, we have a high turnover of people. So people are coming and leaving very fast from the organization. That is obviously a weakness. We had to cut salaries. We are having less and less beneficiary that we are serving. There are fights and conflicts between the team members. So all these should come under the weaknesses thing, but it's again something should refer to what's happening inside the organization. What you see here, opportunities and threats, these are both things that we look at outside the organization. So opportunities and threats, we are looking outside the organization for both opportunities and threats. So opportunities are things that are going to come. We know they're going to come. So an opportunity is this next year. We know that the pandemic will probably decrease and people can start coming back to libraries. So that's an opportunity. What are we going to give them as a library? But then again, until then, it's still an opportunity for us to communicate with our patrons online. So how we should put that as an opportunity still for us to do our job. Other people had to close down, but we still can do our job. An opportunity should be a funding program, a new Minister of Culture if you're a library, a new county council president, again, if you're a library. But if you're an NGO, it's a new funding program that can come, a new partnership that you have just entered, a new network of NGOs that you have entered. So all these could be opportunities for you. And threats, obviously, something that will move against you whenever you will try to do something, or you are envisaging that it will come against you. So we're talking here about the fact that there is, let's say in the community, there is a case where somebody got sick in a library, took COVID-19, or through a discussion with some NGO, you found out that one new board member from a funding organization is not particularly happy with you. So you need to be very, how can I say, informed first of all, but then true to yourself, to put the threats and to discover as many as possible and to evaluate threats in a very objective manner. So once you have done this this matrix, this SWOT analysis, again, keep in mind that you should not do this alone. So if you're doing it in an organization or in a library, the SWOT analysis should be done with your stakeholder. So you're inviting in the SWOT analysis community members, NGOs, people from the public administration, people from the culture department, other libraries that you are working with. So all this should be part in a SWOT analysis. And you know why that should happen? Because sometimes you're not aware of your own weaknesses. And they can point that to you. Well, you said you have so many nice people who are working, but we know that we came here and people were so nasty with us and they did not speak nice with us. And so you need to have to see both yourself in the mirror and to have the mirror put in front of you by your stakeholders, because that's a kind of 360 degree view of the whole situation. Now, because you're strategic planning, it means that you need to look to the future. And so when you are discussing what you will do in the future, you are using the SWOT analysis in two ways. The first way is to put together offensive objectives. What are the offensive objectives? Those objectives which are helping you develop, which are helping you grow. And those objectives are based on strengths and opportunities. So you have 5 members of staff, which are amazing, and you have funding opportunities coming towards you. It means that you can think already of bringing at least 100,000 euros in, or 100,000 Moldovan lei or grivna from Ukraine in your library in the next 5 years, right? On community projects. Or you have people in the you have good people in the staff, and you have good services, and also then you can think, well, a lot of people have nothing to do, so what I'm going to do is it's a fundraising campaign. And so one of the offensive objectives is to get for the library or for my NGO 100,000 euros or Moldovan lei or grivna or Romanian lei, whatever, from companies, so I can support new services for the people I'm working with. Again, based on weaknesses and threats, what you can do, you need to draft what we call defensive objectives. Now, what are the defensive objectives? They are not meant to develop you. They are not meant to take you to the next century, but the defensive objectives are meant to keep you alive, okay? So you still exist as an organization at the end of the next 2 years. And so defensive objectives are not what you meant to do, but what you need to correct. What has been wrong and you need to make right. For instance, in terms of defensive objectives, you could say, I need to hire 2 more people. I need to put together another regulation for internal behaviors of people. I need to, I don't know, I need to make sure that the department managers are doing their job and talk at least once a week with their teams, right? Because let's say you have conflicts in the organization. So what you do with defensive objectives is you try to keep yourself alive. These are the things that unless you do them, you can't have the offensive objectives. But you see, an organization cannot exist only based on offensive objectives or only based on defensive objectives. You need to have them both. If you don't exist, you can't develop, right? But if you can't develop, then you don't give people a mission for which they need to fight, for which they need to wake up every morning and come to work. So defensive objectives and offensive objectives, they are part of the same coin, of the same development that you are planning for your organization. Now, we are talking about SWOT analysis in the 1940s, but there is a development of it called the Meta Swot, which have been put together by this guy, but by Barney in 1991. And it looks a bit like the force field analysis. The force field analysis, it's a concept that's been introduced by Kurt Lewin, and who said you can never be just static. Wherever you are, there are going to be field forces running around you in different directions. And what you need to understand is how they work, how these field forces work for you or against you, so you can master them and ride the wave which is helping you and get away from the wave which is trying to harm you. So Barney is saying, okay, you need to look at yourself not only in terms of strengths and weaknesses, which are quite palpable. I mean, you can touch them, you can see where they are, but you need to look at yourself in terms of symbolic power, let's say, or things that are not so visible, but you need to take them into account. So which are these fault fields, and what is the Meta Swot, let's say? It's combining 4 dimensions. One is value, second is rarity, I is inimitable, and O organization. And I'm going to explain them to you each on each term. So value, it's asking you as a group who is doing the strategic planning, if you have any resource or capability, so something that's unique to you, to exploit an environmental opportunity or to neutralize an environmental threat. That's something, so it's something that's outside of you. So do you have any resource or capability which are enabling your organization to exploit an environmental opportunity? For instance, do you have an innovation department which is looking around and seeing what is going on? Or do you have something that's allowing you to understand what's coming? Are you part, like our organization, like Progress Foundation is doing now? No, it's not trying, it's doing now. Are you part in a group of people who are debating how the technological education will happen in your country in the next 5 years? If you're not there, you should be there, because if you're part of the legislation, you understand how your environment is going to change. And then when other people will just see the change, you will understand the change and can be prepared for it, right? So look at anything that could be of value in order to ride on the opportunity wave. The second thing that you need to take into account is rarity. So is a resource or capability currently controlled by a small number of competing organizations? Do you have something that some other people don't? And because they don't, then you can use this thing, this service, this person, this product that you have, that nobody else is coming, or very few people have it. I don't know if you remember, but at some point in Romania, there was only one library doing X, Y, or Z thing, or it's only one NGO. We were for a long time in Romania the only NGO who had, because of the Gates Foundation, the methodology for human-centered design. And still now, in terms of human-centered design for library service, we are the only organization who is organizing courses for libraries. So it's a rarity. Because it's a rarity, this is something that it's allowing us as an organization to build on it and to survive when other people cannot survive. So find things which are rare in your organization. And you see, this is not something that you, I don't know, that's jumping into your head, or sometimes it's just in front of your eyes. It's just one colleague who is really, really skilled at doing something. And you always thought that in your organization that this colleague is just taking the damn salary and is not doing nothing, is not doing anything. But then when you discover what that person can do and no one else can do, it's really amazing. So look at what you do and nobody else can, because that is one of the biggest strengths, and it's helping you be in front of the others and capitalize on it as an organization or as an institution. Or if you're not there, why don't you have something that no one else has? Think in terms of strategic planning to become something that nobody else is, because if that's the case, people will flock to you to understand how you do it, and then you will be able to help others, but while you are monetizing it. I will give you the example of Doc 1. So Doc 1 is what we have here, both rare and inimitable. Why is it rare? Because you can do whatever you want in any library in the world. You will not have what they have. They have makerspace, you have makerspace. They have, I don't know, think about what the tinkering. They have an innovation center. It's amazing. Other libraries have tried to do what they have, but still they're number one. They set up the next library conference, which has a completely different format from all the other boring library conferences. No one else has it, and now they're capitalizing on it in terms of brand, because everyone in the world has heard about Doc 1. You cannot tell me you have not. Ask people from, I mean, even people, I don't know, in the end of Jakarta know about them. So they have exploited this rarity. Why? Because they had a strategic planning in mind, which says, well, we need to do something that no one else is doing. The other thing, which is in connection with rarity, it's inimitable. Do organization without this resource or capability face a cost disadvantage of obtaining or developing it? So if you have something that you cannot live without, if you have one person in staff who only can do the rare things, don't leave that person. I mean, do whatever you can to keep that person on staff. Is there something that you as an organization without that cannot survive? Push all your efforts into that direction. And the last one is organization. Are organizations' policies and procedures organized to support the exploitation of valuable, rare, costly to imitate resources? So this again is how you build properly and with added value on everything that you already have. And it's making your organization inimitable, because if you're inimitable, if you're rare, if you have value, then obviously, and you are forward thinking, then obviously your strategic thinking is already where it has to be. and you just need to organize yourself properly. So all these things that you have, they can last for a long time. Next library or doc, they could have perished in 1 year or in 2 years when other new libraries started to come out, when the Library of Chicago and the Library of the one in anyway, so many others. They started the UB library in Finland, I think is the name of it. So when they all started, I mean, doc could have vanished in terms of rarity, but it has not. So think what can make your library in Chisinau or in the Association of Librarians in Ukraine, what can make it the unique thing that okay, I tried.
You're back.
I'm Manuel, I'm board member in an NGO. Anika is from North Macedonia and Ina is from Rapor. Okay. So do you have any questions? I'll stop from time to time to ask you if you have questions or you want to add something to say, okay, you're not right, that Barney guy, he was an idiot, we don't care what he said. So just anything that you feel you need to comment, just let me know or write in the chat. Now, who is brave enough to work with me a bit on your own SWOT analysis for your own organization? But we will not do a full SWOT analysis because obviously we will not have time for that. Let's just find, it's just for me to figure out if you understand what's a strength, what's a weakness, what's an opportunity, or what's a threat. And then if you feel in your organization there's something of value, something rare, and something inimitable, just example of that. So can you give me an example of a strength for your organization? Just an example. You say, okay, one of our strengths as organization is.
For example, for my library is a network of libraries been located in each part of Chisinau, in each part of city.
Right. So you have a network which is covering the whole city.
Yes.
Okay, why? Why?
Comparing to other cultural institutions, for example, or comparing to other types of institutions.
In a part of you, but the other side, maybe it is a weakness.
Yes, but it's, thank you for, this is really interesting. You decide what a strength is. I'm not if I'm a museum, the fact that the library in Chisinau has branches everywhere, for me that's a weakness, because if I am the competition of a library, obviously I don't want the library to steal all my clients. So yes, for them it's a strength. So I see the strength from my point of view, right?
Yes. And besides the strengths, it's something that comes from internal evaluation.
Exactly. So it's something that's it has to do with your own organization. So now give me a weakness. What should be a weakness of your institution? It should not only be you, anyone can jump in. So just give me an example of a weakness. What could be a weakness?
No weaknesses in the library world, maybe from the NGO guys.
Yes, I see Manuel and Diana and Ekaterina and Mariana. So anything, what do you, just put a label and say, this is a weakness for my organization or my institution.
I mean, it's more of a general case, but I guess a weakness could be if you only have people coming from the same background. So like you don't necessarily have that much interdisciplinarity within your own organization. And then that can kind of expose yourself to only like having a certain type of thinking and only doing certain projects. That could
Right.
be.
So you're saying that the weakness is when you are serving as an NGO, for instance, only one category of people?
No, rather within internally in the organization, if most of your people are coming from a similar background and have similar, like, I don't know,
Yes.
these areas, let's say.
Great.
Like some kind of consensus and
Yes,
general,
that is a
the
very
same
good
type of,
example.
yeah.
That is
I
a
like
very
it
good example. So if you only have female between 50 and 55, or if you only have male from 20 to 25, obviously that's a very narrow perspective from which all the issues pertaining to your organization are being seen. So if you can see the world only through a narrow point of view, then you think that the whole world is just what you see. So that's a very good example, Diana. The fact that you have in your organization a very monotonous, let's say, array of social demographics in terms of staff. And obviously, we should all aim for diversity, not only because we want as an organization to be more representative. So it's not just a matter of policy, but it's a matter of the fact that the society is diverse. So if the society is diverse, me as an organization, I cannot be an island and pretend that I can serve a diverse society by eating only beans every day. That's not diversity. That's diabetes one day. So so that's really that's a very good example. So let's think about an opportunity. What could be an opportunity for a library or for an NGO? So it has to be something outside of your organization. Could this webinar be an opportunity? What do you think? A webinar like this, could this be an opportunity for your organization? Or a series of webinars? Just say yes or no. I'm not going to ask you to say long sentences. Just a webinar, a training course, an empowerment event that someone's offering. All the courses on Coursera, which are now free of charge. Anything like that obviously is an opportunity for organizations and for institutions. So anything that's helping you.
A regional network of librarians and NGO innovators that can exchange best practices.
Yeah, so to discuss why we are here. So this is one of the events in a series of things that can help your strategic planning and your strategic development, being part of a network, just hearing some things that some other people are doing and using your value and your rarity to help other organizations. That could be obviously an opportunity. And what can be a threat? Let's think about what can be a threat for an organization or for a library. And because we're in Romania and we just had elections, if you tell me the new government regulations, I will say yes. Because just a minute to finish this. Because we don't know as institutions, as public institutions, you librarians, you libraries, you don't know what is going to happen with you in the next year. We have already seen that some new presidents of county councils, they already started cutting jobs from the library field. So that is definitely a threat for you. It could be if you foresee it. So if you understand that this can be a threat, you can start preparing for it. And I see there's some people are writing in chat. Strategy for future is not steady. Yes, human resources, but human resources are something that's a weakness rather than a threat. A threat is coming from outside of the library. So obviously it has to be from, because it's from outside, it only happened to you because of other people. It's not because of you.
Human resources that are not prepared for your library can be a threat if you know that the education for librarians, for example, is bad and it's producing people. So that's how it can be seen as a threat when it's outside your organization. But if you're talking about the staff, then it's
now the staff is inside.
It's internal.
Right. Now, what is of value for your own organization? What do you think that you have and no one else has? And I was mentioning our capability as an organization to have people inside who are looking what is going on around in the world and say, okay, we should do that. And I have to tell you guys, and this is a secret from the Progress Foundation, an organization I have worked for many, many years, is we have always been valuable because we were attending international events. Everything that's of value for us, it came from international partners, and we understood from them what they're doing, and we took and adapted for our own needs. And sometimes, and I'm very very quirky to say that, but I'm going to say it, sometimes we would take what other people were doing and do it better ourselves. So, and because of that, our capacity to be see what's the name of that, see light, and see what's going on, it's been really, really helpful for us because we rarely have been caught on the wrong foot. In terms of rarity, I told you, we are doing this training course that nobody else is doing. So whenever you say, okay, who's doing in Romania design thinking for libraries, they will, it's my, it's my intimate thing. It's my intimate belief that everyone will point to us because we are the only one who can provide that with a high degree of success. So what's inimitable in terms of your organization? I'm just asking you not so much to tell me this. I don't want to find your rarity, or I don't want to understand what's inimitable, but I want you to think about in terms of your organization. What's making us special? What's making us be like no one else is? And what capacity we have that we can build on and base our future on that. And if you don't have anyone with IT skills, just hire one person, because that's definitely something related to the future. Now, I told you that strategic planning, and thank you for your contributions. I told you that strategic planning, it's something that has a forward thinking, a vision, a mission, a plan. We're organizing what we want to do in the future, so it has to do with the planning part. But it has to do also with the strategic part, with choosing what we want to do and how we want to do it, and focus on that, and making that strategically be our reference point for the future. In terms of planning, obviously, we need to have an expert, to have an expertise in terms of doing the analysis, understanding where we are and where we want to be. The SWOT analysis is good because it's giving you what? The CO part, the strength and weaknesses part is giving you what? The current situation, where you are, what you have, what you don't have. And obviously the opportunities and threats are giving you the potential future. Whenever you start a strategic planning process, you need to start with the current situation, where we are, what we are, who we are, in order to understand where you want to be. if you don't know where you are, you cannot know where you want to be. You will always be thinking, well, I want to be there, but am I not already there? How long do I need to get to be there? Is it a span of 2 years, of 5 years, of 10 years? So you cannot have that type of prediction, of provision, let's say, unless you understand where you are. And once you understand where you want to be, then you start planning backwards. So you know where you are, you know where you want to be, and then you start to plan backwards. And so you have to have analysis, and you do that through the SWOT, but then you can do it through the past analysis. You're looking, there are many methods. I don't want to go into details with them. And then you put yourself the mission, where you want to, who you are, the vision, where you want to be. And then from all this, you draw the objectives. And the objectives, as we said, they can be offensive or defensive. But then from objectives, you need to draw action plans. Because if my objective is that in 2 years, I want to double the fundraising money I'm getting, then you need to look at what you have. Do I have people to do that? Do I have contacts of people to ask? How am I going to find an organization where I can do the fundraising? Do I have the materials for fundraising? Do I have the stories for fundraising? So whenever you put an objective and you have a time frame for that objective, 2 years, in 2 years, I'm doubling the money. I will not insult you to tell you that objectives must be smart. I'm not even mentioning that because I think that everyone knows that already. Objectives must be smart. You need to understand what you're doing, until when you are doing, what exactly specifically you want to do. So that's why objectives need to be smart. I'm not insisting on that. But if you know exactly where you want to reach, then you can plan backwards and say, okay, if I want to have to double my fundraising, which means 200,000 euro, then I need to have someone hired, and that's something that I do in the first 3 months, and then in the next 6 months, I'm allowing this person to, within that time, the 6 months, until the person is creating a network, I'm also creating the main narratives for the fundraising, and then I start planning meetings, and then I'm going to meetings, and towards the end of in the last 6 months, I need to sign fundraising contracts. So if I know how much money, who will deal with that, how I'm going to do it, then I can plan the objectives. So that's the expertise part. The other part, which is really, really interesting in strategic planning, is the process. We are always focusing in strategic planning on this, on plans, on objectives, on action plans, on budgets, on whatever you want. So we are focusing on the hard part of the strategic planning. But the equally important one is the soft part, the process. Unless in strategic planning, I don't have everyone on board with me, unless I have the main people to support me in reaching those objectives, then I don't have strategic planning. I only have some ideas on the paper. So the facilitation process, which is ensuring that I have what? The organizational capacity to do what I'm planning. The attitude and commitment from the people. If no one is supporting my fundraising endeavor, I mean, I can throw it in the garbage. Nobody will care. Me as a boss, I can think of fundraising as important, but I will be, I like to give this example. I will be on a highway, and behind me, there's going to be nobody. So you need to make sure that you have the attitude and the commitment of people, on all your stakeholders in the process. We will speak about stakeholders in a minute. And also the know-how and the abilities. If I want to do fundraising, but nobody in my organization knows what the hell am I talking about, then I can do planning and projects and whatever, but it's not going to happen. So all this part of strategic planning, the soft, the process, is equally important to the beautiful projects that we are writing. I know organizations who have written beautiful project proposals. I mean, amazing. They got the projects. But once they got the projects, there was nobody there to implement them. Because they put beautiful stories on a piece of paper, they convinced someone to give them the money, but then when they needed to sign the contract, they could not sign the contract because they did not have the organizational capacity. And I've seen projects beautifully started. Amazing. I mean, everybody was, yes, it's a nice project. And when the work started, people were fleeing in every direction because in fact, they were not committed to what was being put on the paper. So commitment of people, attitude, understanding the know-how you have and the know-how you need to bring on board, these are equally important in strategic planning. And we tend to oversee this. We tend to leave it aside. We think that if we have a beautiful piece of paper, it's going to be amazing. And I think, Claudia, with our experience in the National Library of Romania, in those times, we had a beautiful piece of paper. We had beautiful mission, vision, and values. We have a beautiful plan, but then very few people were actually on board with that, even if they were consulted. So it was a very strong matter of commitment from those people. They were like fake in what they're saying. Yes, this is amazing. Yeah, clapping hands. When I was doing a lot of facilitating projects in my consultancy life. And whenever I was seeing just clap of hands and people saying, yay, it's a beauty, it's amazing. Yes, we will do that. I will never believe them. So for you as well, this is my piece of advice. Whenever you are in a strategic planning process and people don't fight, it's going to be a failure. People need to fight. When people fight, what's happening? They put their heart on the table. They put their mind and heart and emotion, and they are living through the process. So when fight happens, it means that they have ideas to defend or points of view on which they need to convince others. If everybody's nice with each other and they seem on board and they're like, oh, your idea is better than mine, and you're, oh no, let's go with your ideas. Don't, it's fake. So unfake them, make them fight about something, and then you will see what they're really committed about. And if they're only committed about status quo, about preserving the jobs, you need to redo from scratch that organization, because it's clearly that people are not interested in anything else but themselves. And that's not something that you can build on. If people are only focused on themselves and there's nothing around or apart from that, it means it's not the right environment to do anything innovative, anything good for the community. Okay. So we have talked so far about what is strategic planning, the methods for strategic planning. We discussed about objectives and plans, and we said that there is a hard part, which is then transformed from objectives to action. And there is a soft part, which is focused on the process. And until now, we have mentioned several times this word stakeholders, that if you want to have a strategic planning in place, you need to bring on board stakeholders. So now let's look at who are the stakeholders in strategic planning. I mean, if you're a company, if you're an NGO, if you're a library, this is made for a company, but this can work for an NGO or for a library. Just keep in mind that as an organization, you are never an island. You're not somewhere in the sky hanging. There are threads which are connecting you with all the society. And what you need to understand when you're doing the stakeholder analysis is who are those threads which are thicker, which are connecting you stronger to other islands, and who are your friendly islands, and who are your the islands who would want to start a war with you. Okay, as Virgil was saying, maybe some people don't like, Mariana, that you have so many branches, right? So we need to think of from all the points of view. about the stakeholders that we as an organization, as an NGO, as a library have. So if we put here in the middle the fact that you're an NGO or a library, then you have clients, and obviously they're your beneficiary, the people that you work with, and then you have employees, and then you have suppliers, people who provide you things with, and then you have the boards or the owners, and obviously the community as a whole. But then in the secondary ring of stakeholders, we have the government, which is influencing us, and we have here is not the interest, it's the association of the same companies or the same libraries as you have, the consumers at large, the media, and your competitors. Because as public institutions, library, they don't have a competition per se, but they have other public institutions involved in culture and education who could be your competitor. So these are the stakeholders. And what do we need to do in order to involve the stakeholders in the process of strategic planning? First of all, we need to understand who they are. Who are the stakeholders? And in a few minutes, we will have a matrix for analyzing the stakeholders. So first of all, you need to map them. You need to understand who they are, and then you need to evaluate their behavior. Are they with me or are they against me? Or do they don't even care that I exist? Where are they in terms of attitude and behaviors? And then you need to understand details about the stakeholders. Well, I know that the museum is hating me, but everyone in the museum think libraries should be wiped from Earth, or just one person there? Have they always had this type of attitude towards me, or it's just recently happened? If you're an NGO, again, you had partners that you worked very well with, and then from a point forward, they started working with others. Why has that happened? So you need to understand details about the behavior of your stakeholder. And then you need to understand the strategy of each stakeholder. So what is the strategy of the new mayor? What is the strategy of this or that particular funder? For me as an NGO, what is their strategy? Where do they want to take forward? What is their strategic plan? Am I fitting in their strategic plan? So you need to understand. And then you have to develop specific strategies for involving each stakeholder. It's one way to discuss. You need to formally invite the mayor in your strategic planning process, but you can just ask your friends from some NGOs you have worked with in the future. Come, tell me what you think I should do. Also, if you have not done it before, or you have done it in the past and it didn't work, you should set new formats for interacting with the stakeholders. And here I have an example for you from the County Library of Gorj. They had a very good relationship with the county council in Gorj, and the director has been in constant dialogue with the president of the county council. But at some point, they have appointed within the committee for culture in the county council committees, they have appointed a person who was more interested towards giving funding to the museum. So before, there was no problem for the director of the county library to work with the medium management of the county council, not with the president, because the president was saying and then everyone agreed. But since the moment this person entered the Committee for Culture and Education, everything has changed for them. And they needed to schmooze her, to explain to her what they want to do, to involve her in the process because she came later. So they understood that unless they bring her on board, she's going to not stop, but make a little bit harder the relationship that they had before. And Also, what you need to do is to develop strategies, value-driven, value-generating. I'm telling you this, but I think you know from your own experience. If a stakeholder doesn't understand why they should help you, they will not do it. So you need to have something for each stakeholder that's on board. If you want on board the mayor, you should tell the mayor, Mr. Mayor, you should be in my strategic planning process, because then when you will run again in 4 years, in your local program for the culture of the people, what I have here should be in your political agenda. And because we consult people, you will make sure that what you are proposing to the community, it's what the community wants. So you need to find for each stakeholder who you want to bring on board in your strategic planning process, what's in it for them. You know, is that marketing with me? What's in it for them? Tell them what they will gain if they will be part of your strategic planning process. I know that in the case of Gorge, they brought on board a lot of people, telling them, well, you will see how we do the strategic planning, and then you can do it yourselves. So you can learn from us. So a lot of people came and contributed to the strategic planning of the Gorge County Library. People from the school inspectorate, people from the school libraries, people from the county council, and so on, because they wanted to understand what does it mean to do a strategic planning process. So it was something for them to do. Now, this is my favorite ever. How can I say?
I have a question, please.
Format of deciding who the stakeholders are. We split always the stakeholders based on 2 criteria. One criteria is importance. How important is that stakeholder for me? And how capable of influence, or what is the level of influence for that stakeholder? So importance, high, low importance, high influence, low influence. And if we draw the lines here, we have stakeholders with high importance and low influence. These are the beneficiaries most of the time. So people that I want to work with, like, I don't know, librarians in the case of my organization, just beneficiary. They have little influence, but they are hugely important for me, because if I don't understand what they want, me as an organization, I don't know what I need to offer them. And then you have people with high influence and high importance, and they are the partners. In our activity, it was really important to have the Association of Librarians as a partner, because they could either both influence. When we were working for the BiblioNet program, the association was a partner because they could influence a lot of politics of the library world, and they were important because they were some of the recipients of our empowerment process. And then you have the people who have very little influence and very little importance. We call them the insignificant other. They exist, but they are not vocal in any way, shape, or form. And because they're not vocal, and we don't think they will be vocal in the future, we take them into account, but we don't place a lot of emphasis on them. And you have my favorite ones, because I'm a little bit of a conflict lover. I like to jump into conflicts. People don't conflict from the zone, and I find that refreshing. So we have the saboteurs, and what? Yes.
If you can say again the last couple of phrases, because you lost your connection, and also don't forget that you have a question from Virgil. It's written in the chat when you get the chance to address that too.
I'm sorry,
as it's fresh.
Okay, I will explain the matrix, and then I'll go to Virgil's question. So did you get my explanation about the insignificant others?
Yes, the saboteurs are having problems.
Right. So I was just saying that the saboteurs are actually my favorite type of stakeholders because, you know, people avoid conflict. I've never been a conflict avoider. I loved conflict. And if some of you remember the first years of BiblioNet, it was a conflict ongoing. But if you look at the achievements of the BiblioNet program, the people who stayed in the program, the people who are doing the added value in public libraries now, are the people who had most conflicts at the beginning. Why? Because we took them out of the comfort zone. So what you do I'm doing just a small parenthesis about conflict now, so I explain myself so you don't think I'm a psychopath loving conflicts. What you do with a conflict, and I'm sometimes just starting it, is to take people out of their comfort zone. If you don't take people out of their comfort zone, development doesn't happen. People stay still in their beautiful soup. Peter Senge was calling this the parable of the boiled frog. He said that if you take a frog and you throw the frog into a pot with boiling water, the frog will feel the danger and will immediately jump out. But if you take a frog and you put it in cold water, and then you put the cold water with the frog inside on and you start the fire, but very lightly, the frog will die boiled inside because she cannot feel the danger anymore. So people who avoid conflict are people who are staying in that soup, which is where the fire is down, but they don't understand what's going on in the outside world, and they don't make an effort. So I like the saboteurs because sometimes the saboteurs are just people who are telling you, you don't take me into account, take me into account. So they are people with high influence, but little importance to us. And so what I'm asking you is to embrace the saboteurs and understand if what they're saying is something legitimate, but you did not make any effort to make sure that you're listening to them. So we don't take, we look at this is like the starting pictures of the stakeholders, but you're not having a static situation. We don't look at this image and say, oh my God, I'll have some people who will sabotage me and then I'm not doing anything. No, go start a discussion with the saboteurs. Understand why they don't want you to go on with your strategic planning. And if you understand, see if there is a possibility to match your interests and then bring saboteurs, bring organizations or people from saboteurs into partners, or if they are saboteurs, then if you can't do that under any way, shape or form, crush. Okay, because sometimes people are just telling you nasty things because they cannot tell you and they're not. So just leave, at least make an effort to listen to them first. Okay, and now I look at the question, which is internal. Okay, so what is the question? In that case, what is worse, to be against or don't care? So you are referring to not caring or be against?
The general, because to don't care are at least two nuances. Don't care because I don't care, but don't care because you don't exist, which I think is worse than to be against.
Okay, if I understand correctly what you're saying, to not care, to not care, I think it has two faces. Let's say I don't care. One of the faces is I don't think I'm important enough to care, but I actually care. So you are a hidden saboteur. Okay, you say I don't care, but if somebody's taking you into account and it's asking you what's your opinion and what you say about that, you suddenly care. We call that process empowerment, and in the next couple of slides I will show you what I'm talking about. And there are people who don't care because they don't care. They're just outside of this. But maybe they don't care because they don't know. So you will always have people who will not care. But then you, in a few, I think in the next slide, no, in the next two slides, we will discuss about the I don't care people. So first of all, you as an organization who is attempting to do strategic planning, you need to understand who these insignificant others are. Because they may, at one point, they could be the insignificant other. They don't have any importance to you. But if something happens, then they can become significant others, and they can be either saboteurs and they can be beneficiaries. So you never look at strategic planning as something set in stone, as the Moses laws, 10 laws in the stone, nobody's allowed to change them. Strategic planning is a live process. And actually we say that it's a process more than the documents resulting from the process. So at some point in your development, people who are insignificant could become saboteurs or partners or beneficiaries, depending on how your organization is developing. You will see in a minute what I'm talking about. So let's say that your organization, this is just a short example. I'm getting towards an end. I know we still have 12 minutes. So let's say that your organization is starting a course on civic activism, on active citizenship. Who should be the stakeholders? So I start a library, or as an NGO, I start a course on public activism. So whenever someone hears public activism, who should be the people I'm aiming? The citizens of, I don't know, of my city. They need to be better citizens. Who should be the partners? Well, other NGOs, I don't know, other foundations, even trade unions. So a bunch of stakeholders could be my partners. Who could be my saboteurs? Well, probably in the beginning, the mayor could be my saboteur. He doesn't want people to start asking questions about the local budget, about their rights, about whatever. But then if the mayor understands that what the citizens say can help doing him a better job, the mayor can transform from a saboteur to a partner, right? And obviously insignificant others are people who are saying, what? Civic what? I don't care about civic. What? You are with Bill Gates and with Soros, and you, oh no, I don't want to hear about that. But then if you're asking them, well, is your street paved? No. Do you have running water? No. Do you have cold water? Yes. Do you have warm water? No. Then you need to get involved. So by providing them more information, people can be either partners or beneficiaries, or some of them will always stay as insignificant others, sadly. So what is the long way to partnership? To bring someone from a saboteur or from insignificant other to being a partner, that is not an easy process. And for you as a library to bring on board to bring on board NGOs, to bring on board citizens, to bring on board associations, it's not an easy process. Why? Because in the beginning, they're closed. They don't want to work with you. They don't want to talk to you. Whatever you want to do, I don't care. And so in order to start the partnership process, you will start by informing them. Look, we are doing this strategic planning process. Are you interested in telling us your opinions? Do you want to be part of our development? So their attitude will be, other will set the plan and they will coordinate it. We will not be part of that. And then you're consulting them. You say, okay, look, we want to do for the citizens of this town, we want to do this particular activity. We really want your input. We're not informing you that we want to do this project. We want your input. And then if you are constant in your efforts, people will start cooperating. People will start opening towards you. People will start telling you what they think and what they want. And then you have a co-participatory, co-learning process where you're learning from them and they come open to you. In this part, people feel that others are deciding for them. So until here, till this line, others are deciding. I don't have an input. I don't have a voice. I'm like the frog in the water. Let the water boil. I'm here. I'm, you know, I don't care. Some people, some other make the decision. Here, it's we decide. So it's our input that's important. It's we the one who are deciding what is going to happen with us. And in the same way, in terms of partnership outside the organization, it's the same way in creating partnerships inside the organization. Because when you are a new boss of an organization and you want to do strategic planning, when you're asking people, I want your opinion, they say, oh, a new boss is coming. The new boss is going to make decision for us. We don't care. Do whatever you want. You'll decide anyway. You don't care about us. So when you start being the manager of an organization, you will always find the people close to you. They will not provide you any input. But then the process, you need to start it, and it's not from them. You see, a lot of people say, if the community is not coming to us, and if the beneficiaries are not coming to us to tell us what they need, you know something, we will do what we want. But it's always in strategic planning and in strategic development, those who have the power, those are going to the people who are powerless. It's not the other way around. You can expect a mayor cannot expect the people to come to him. He has to make the first step, and people don't understand that. It's your duty to empower others. It's not their duty to empower themselves, because they cannot. If they could be empowering themselves, they would be the mayor. So always this decision of involving others in strategic planning, it has to be the decision of the person or the organization who is running the process. You should make the efforts to bring everyone on board, because you will be the organization who will win the most when you will have, instead of people to whom you will bark orders, people who will be co-creating the decision, co-creating the reality with you. So what's valid for the outside of the organization, it's valid for the inside of the organization. People will first be aware of what is going on, and then people will be consulted and they will tell you what they think they want, but they will not make sure that you will listen to them. And then you're starting the partnership to run the organization in partnership, and you set the priorities with people, and then people will feel free. And we call this in organizational psychology, we call this leadership by example or servant leadership, where the leader is serving the people that are working for him. And the same in strategic planning. You are the master of your world when people are co-creating with you the decision that you want them to be participating in decision, but you are co-creating that decision. You are co-creating that reality with them. We're nearing the end of our time together, and this is an exercise for you. If you either you are a library or you are an NGO, let's say that you're becoming the partner of the most important high school in your town, and you ask for volunteers for your activities, and you hope to recruit many kids from the 11th and 12th grade. So who are the stakeholders in this situation? What is the role of each stakeholder? Think about this. Are they beneficiaries, partners, saboteurs, or insignificant others? What more data do you need to make sure that you have this project up and running? And if you decide for a partenarial approach, what steps would you undertake? So this is something that I want to leave with you. So you start thinking in terms of stakeholders and in terms of both hard component and soft component of the strategic planning process.